Hey, it's Jonathan here from Mindful Communication, helping you transform the way you speak and listen to impact every single area of your life. And in today's video, we're going to be going over the 7 most common signs of defensiveness. Defensiveness destroys conversations. It blocks communication and it erodes relationships. Now, whether it's you who's feeling defensive or the other person who's feeling defensive, you want to make sure to be able to identify defensiveness as it comes. And that's what we're going to be going over in this video. Now, before we get started with this video, if you want to know what exactly defensiveness is, check out my other video on the basics of defensiveness. You'll get a much better idea of what it is and how it operates. Now, defensiveness, it's a tricky beast, and it has a tendency to derail conversations. And that's because it blocks communication. Not only that, it happens blindingly fast. So it is very possible that you nor your conversation partner have any idea it's even happening. And probably the most dangerous of all is that defensiveness causes more defensiveness. So it only takes one person to start getting defensive, and then the whole conversation can spiral out of control. And one way to mitigate defensiveness is to see the signs. If we can identify the signs in the moment as they happen, we're going to have a much better chance of taking the correct actions to remove defensiveness from the conversation and keep things productive. So in this video, I want to focus on taking you through the 7 most common signs of defensiveness so that you can better deal with defensiveness in your conversations. The first common form of defensiveness is making excuses. Making excuses is when we claim that external forces forced us to act in a certain way. Now, what that might look like in your life is, say that you asked your partner to go pick up the dry cleaning for you. And you might have said something like, "Why didn't you pick up the dry cleaning like I asked?" And they might respond with, "That big client of mine talks so much, there's no way I could get out of work in time to pick up the dry cleaning." And so what we're doing in this case is we're kind of denying responsibility. We're coming up with excuses for why we didn't do things. A funny thing about defensiveness is anytime we defend ourselves, we are technically being defensive. So if you notice yourself or your partner or others defending a certain idea, defending certain actions, beware, because defensiveness could be around the corner. The second common sign of defensiveness is called cross-complaining. Cross-complaining is when you meet your conversation partner's criticism or complaint with your own immediate criticism or complaint, completely ignoring what they said. Now, what that might look like in a relationship is, "Hey, isn't dinner ready yet? The garbage you said you'd take out to the back is still sitting in the hallway." See, what's happening in this scenario is we're having our partner tell us something, a complaint or a criticism, and instead of acknowledging what it is that they said, we meet it with our own complaint or criticism. This is really dangerous in a relationship because the other person is going to feel completely ignored, completely neglected. And so they may be tempted to repeat what they said, to get in an argument about whatever it is. So watch out for this very, very dangerous form of defensiveness. The next form of defensiveness is called yeah-butting. And this is when you start by agreeing with the statement, but end up disagreeing, justifying your actions. And what this might look like in a conversation is, "Why can't you leave some hot water for me when you shower in the morning?" And the person might respond with, "I know you needed to shower, but I have to condition and shampoo and it takes me time to wake up in the morning." Now, the way you can distinguish this defensiveness sign is those key words, yeah, but. When you say, "yeah, but," you're acknowledging what the other person is saying, and then you're invalidating it in one fell swoop. So whenever you're hearing the words, "yeah, but," beware, because defensiveness might be around the corner. The next common sign of defensiveness is called repeating yourself. And this is when you think that you're right. So what you do is you repeat yourself again, often louder, in hopes that your partner will understand your point of view instead of understanding their point of view. So what that might look like is you might be at a party and they might say, "I'd like to go home right now. I just want to talk to a few more people. I really don't want to stay at this party anymore. Honest, I just want to talk to a few more people." You can see how this can become very dangerous. We're completely ignoring the one person in this situation. And the way that you can tell that this is happening is when we repeat ourselves. This is something I see all too often, especially among couples. We repeat ourselves in hopes that maybe if we say it louder or say it slightly differently, it will land with the other person. Probably not the case. What's probably happening is you're going to evoke more defensiveness and you're going to shut down communication. The next common sign of defensiveness is denying responsibility. And that's when you insist on no uncertain terms that you are not to blame. So what this might look like is one person might say, I can't find my keys since you used them. I don't know why you always blame me when you lose something. Now this form of defensiveness kind of sounds a lot like the others, and that's because denying responsibility is a common theme along all the signs of defensiveness. So generally speaking, when you're hearing somebody blaming, when you're hearing someone denying responsibility for either a thought, feeling, or action, you can probably bet that they're feeling a little defensive in that moment. The next common form of defensiveness is called table turning. And that's when in one move, you defend yourself from attack and you blame your partner with the exact same criticism and how it applies to them. And what that might look like in a relationship is, I've been waiting for 20 minutes and you're still not ready. Well, yesterday I had to wait half an hour for you, and because of that, I was late for work. As you can see, this is super dangerous because once again, we're not really addressing the initial statement. We're ignoring the other person and we're making it about us instead. So it's very clear as to why they might get defensive in this case. And the last common sign of defensiveness is tone and body language. When we get defensive, we often show it in our body, in our face, and in the tone of our voice. So what that might look like is arms crossing, whining, a false smile. You may even feel it in your body, tightness in your chest, in your throat, in your jaw. What's wild about defensiveness is that you can feel it in your body, but it's often really hard to notice in the moment. That is, it's hard for you to notice it in yourself. It is definitely much easier to notice it in others. So now that we've gone over all the signs of defensiveness, the question remains, how do we deal with defensiveness in our relationships? Well, I have two possible solutions for you. The first one, take a break. Make sure to take a break from your conversations when you're detecting any defensiveness, either in yourself or your partner. It is not going to do you any good to have a conversation when either of you are starting to feel really defensive. So instead, take some time apart, maybe 10 minutes, maybe even 20 minutes, maybe even an hour, and make sure you're both calmed down and ready to tackle the problem as a team and not tackle each other. My second tip here is to stick to the subject matter. So you'll notice that in a lot of the other examples, what was happening is one person would say something and then they would be ignored. And what we want to make sure we do in our relationship, and particularly when defensiveness might be around, is to stick to the subject. Whatever the first person has said, let's try to get that addressed before moving on. So if you're feeling a little bit defensive, your partner might say something to you and you're responding defensively. Instead of responding defensively, try to address what it is that they're talking about. If they're complaining or criticizing you, talk about that before you switch the subject. Now, if you say something and your partner starts to get defensive, there are a couple ways to handle this. First, what you can do is you can address what it is that they said. You can put your need to the side just for a moment and address what it is that they talked about, and then make sure to bring your need back on the table. So make sure that you ultimately, at the end, get what you want addressed. Now, the other way to do it is to take a stand, because you brought something up that you wanted to talk about, and then there was kind of a switching of subject. And so you want to make sure to bring that subject up again, the first one that you had initially brought up. And the way that looks like is you can say something like, actually, before we talk about that, I really just want to quickly talk about what it is that I brought up, and then we can talk about that. What we're doing is we're clarifying our intentions right off the bat. We're saying that we're going to talk about whatever it is that they had brought up, but it's really important in this moment to talk about our initial complaint, criticism, or comment. So to recap, two things you can do when you're feeling defensiveness. First is you can take a break. And second is to stay on subject. I hope you found this video helpful. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share it with anyone you think could benefit from this very valuable information. And also feel free to leave a comment. What's the common signs of defensiveness that you witness in your relationships, whether it's at home or at work? You can also head over to the Mindful Communication website. The link is in the description, and you can download the free ebook, The 8 Communication Secrets to Bring More Love to Your Relationship. I hope that your relationships, whether at home, at work, or beyond, are full of love, connection, and respect. See ya.